Hannah Swain, thank you so much for coming in. Now, you and I met actually you just said it was 2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago.
Like, it feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago at the same time.
Yep.
The company you were working at the time, you were marketing director of, and your team was hosting a pop-up, and it was actually at the co-working space we used to be working out of. Now we're here and going to explore your new venture that you've got going on. And yeah, it's really cool to be sort of just reigniting. We've gotten bigger since then. Mm-hmm. You're doing your own thing now. Mm-hmm. So let's dive into it.
Great.
Why don't you give the audience some background of who you are, a bit of your journey, and what you're up to now?
Mm-hmm. Do the full life story in 5 seconds.
Yeah, please.
I graduated with a degree in politics, philosophy, and economics at a school here in New York City, and that led me into a first job in sales at a health tech company. And it's where I was kind of fell in love with startups, the startup feel. And I was like, this is amazing, but I don't really see myself in medical imaging technology.
Yep.
And so shifted into consumer goods. That's where I was like, I love consumer goods, but sales is not, that's not my best fit. So I ended up at a event production company. I joined in March 2nd of 2020. So you can imagine like 2 weeks in when all of a sudden it's like, there's no events. We don't know what's happening in the world. Then everyone got reassigned to other projects. Yeah. And there was a beverage company being launched out of that business. So all of it made sense with the background I just come from to work on this beverage project. And then I get a call from the cocktail company ready to launch. And so I came back a week later after I got this call, and that was sort of the history until about 6 months ago.
Yeah. And were you always on the marketing side of it in brand, or were you in the operations as well?
So this cocktail company was a little bit of a shift. I came in initially to do marketing, but it was at a time where the supply chain world was a little bit up in the air, and the supply chain person we'd worked with didn't end up working out. Right. So I learned supply chain, and I started running operations for the beverage company, which
that's what that startup life is.
It's
you're wearing every hat that someone else isn't wearing at that moment. So yeah, definitely. And so what did that lead you to where you're at now?
I was thinking about things that would make sense next, and that's where chief of staff kept being the word that came up. Because within the company, I was like, okay, it's the common terms, like you're the glue that is holding everything together. It's like, okay, that's usually not a job description. And then chief of staff has been such a popular term. It's been such a popular role, specifically in startups. And so that started this idea of chief of staff, but building my own company. So that's where the fractional chief of staff business came to be.
Definitely, and you call it fractional. That's what I was going to ask, actually, whether you use that title. And so for people that, and I'm still learning about it as well, for people that don't understand or have never heard of a fractional position and marketing officer, how would you explain it?
So the fractional component really is just part-time, that it's not a full-time role, but it's not freelance in the sense of just like, all right, we have one project, you come in and you solve this one project. Definitely. Like it's available on a... it's not a full-time basis of, having 24/7 FaceTime in the office or with the team, but that there's a constant presence of structure, support, strategy, execution, and running those systems. This isn't a full marketing hire or ops hire. Like there is this sort of jack of all trades, sort of right hand that is needed. In a way too, there's so many systems that people can implement that automations or whatever software that thing you can't put your finger on of I need extra support really is formalized in a chief of staff. And then the fractional piece, I really hadn't heard of it until I was talking to a consumer goods brand who I was talking about chief of staff work, and they're like, will you do it in a fractional way? It's like, what is, as I had never heard that. I know, I was like, this sounds like a good idea. And all of a sudden I realized, I was like, okay, the fires ebb and flow, and founders just I don't want to be the only one all the time. And that's, so really the idea came from a founder who was suggesting it, because they were like, we need help and we don't even know how.
Tell us about Care of Hannah. You call it Care of Hannah?
I do,
right?
which that was such a push. Designing this business, which really has been by design of alleviating stress for founders, to say, you can be a CEO and not a firefighter. And so everything about the business has been designed to say, how can a founder take a breath after knowing that I'm in their corner?
If you were to pick one goal for Care of Hannah and your business, what would that be?
One of my biggest motivations in this business is helping to serve founders. And that like genuinely
I remember you
is
mentioning that on the call.
like
Yeah.
I love it. Like I think
Yep.
founders are some of the most incredible people. They're courageous and passionate and visionaries, and they have these dreams that they're pursuing. And I'm like, okay, it's funny, I've gone through these different startup phases where like, okay, my passion actually is less of the product that we're making and more of like, how do I support people's dreams?
Yeah.
And that's a very high level, like not as qualitative,
Yeah.
it's more qualitative goal,
Yep.
but really like that's the ethos of supporting founders. On the flip side, like my vision is to build out a network of chief of staffs who are trained in these
Right.
5 behaviors of leadership, who have the flexibility to serve a number of different founders too, and they can explore by industry the things that they love to do. And the more and more I've been meeting like so many talented people who've had that same experience as me, of like, I've done so much. Like, how do we take all of those pieces and combine it into, this one, the glue,
Yeah.
hold everything together, and sort of in service of people who are looking to be in a chief of staff function, but like have a very multidisciplinary background.
Yeah. And so explain what your approach is and role is at these different companies. So chief of staff, but there's a lot more to it
Yep.
as well.
My business partner, who's the executive coach, he has been coaching businesses for over a decade and has an entire leadership framework built out that goes through these 5 behaviors of leadership, which his philosophy is leadership is a series of behaviors that you do, and less of like, you are a leader. It's more that you are doing leadership.
Yeah.
So when I come in and work with these founders, we start off with the first behavior for leadership, which is be about something. So it's a big focus on like constitution of a person. And the second is very similar in that vein of vision, where you craft a compelling vision of the future.
Yeah.
And so those 2 pieces, I come in and we spend an uncomfortably long amount of time being like, we're going to focus on like who you are and where we're going, which in a startup, you're like, I just want to be sprinting. I want to be going. I want to be moving.
Yep.
So it feels very counterintuitive, but the hard part with that is you sprint and then you stop, and you sprint and stop. But if you have a really clear picture of this is where we're going, that helps build in efficiencies later, even though it doesn't feel like it
100%.
on the front end.
I guess those sprints feel less like sprints and more just an extended version of the day or the
Yes.
week. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And so what's a good example of someone that's in a position that needs taken care of? What's their usual bottleneck or usual issue that they find that they're at to employ someone like yourself?
Typically, it's somebody who says, I have no control of my time or my day, or I have a plan, and by the end, I'm like, how is this day over? And I don't even know what just happened. Or they find themselves saying, I don't know, this is not something I should be doing as a CEO, or I don't even remember the last
Yes.
time I was strategic, or all of a sudden there's a big gap between this title of CEO, and then you're like, I'm always fighting fires, or I'm always doing like the miscellaneous task lists, which is just really not the best use of founder time. There's definitely time and space where like, we gotta wear all of the hats, but it's not a matter of like humility. It's more of, this isn't the best use of your time. And there
Definitely.
needs to be a way that shifts.
And especially when that becomes a pattern, when you constantly find yourself kind of picking up pieces, like it shouldn't have been this hard. Like must be a better way. And I'm sure it gets to that breaking point where there needs to be a better way. Do you take interest or like love how you can be positioned in a completely different industry? Like
Love it.
learning, especially
Love it.
that where they've got so many different outlets and
Yep.
distribution of their work. You can really like learn and pick up so much about it. And I guess that's where you fell into startup world. Like it didn't. You worked across multiple industries, and that's what we love about our work as well. Is like we get to learn so much about a certain industry, and then take that to a totally other, like take our wins and results to a totally other industry as well. Is there a specific industry that you'd want to work in next?
Maybe it's work with some athletes or, maybe gyms or, but then also like consumer goods. And I think the heart of a founder, and that sounds so sentimental, but like genuinely like the passion and like their courage in pursuing the things that like, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
Like, this is my purpose on this planet is to do this thing.
Yeah.
Like that just resonates with me the most.
Sometimes I think about like the industries, like we'll do a lot of fitness and a lot of athletics, like gyms or franchisees and stuff. But I love working with fitness. It's always exciting. It's always super engaging. You meet incredibly talented people. But I think sometimes like, fuck, if I had to do that every single day, I couldn't stand it. But that's, again, what I love about this industry is like now we've just lined up a retainer with a huge knife company, and we've got to basically create beautiful hospitality food sets and stuff. And it's like going from that extreme, that contrast, to then going into a gym and sort of 12 hours pouring out sweat and trying to keep up with athletes. It's like,
that's a lot.
I love that
this is
contrast.
Good for Tuesday.
Exactly.
And then Wednesday
like, especially if it's a 2-day shoot with someone, by the end of the second day, I was like, bro. Like,
this is so much.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you feel fulfills you the most about your job?
So this is the founders piece is huge, like that. Yeah. That's sort of like that one component, and then like, okay, I get to do all these different things, like work across industries, and kind of be multifunctional within the job. But our real mission is like, we don't want work to crush people's souls. Like, how do we create work environments where work serves your life instead of halting it or instead of impeding it or you're having detrimental effects? And a big part of that has been looking at, so that same like future history for your company. You can do the same thing for your life personally. Yeah. And then distill a lot of those same values of, okay, what do I want to achieve out of my life? Like the way that I spend my days, and mapping those over those, like my actual fulfillment of my life can map really closely to how I spend my life in my workplace. Yeah. I mean, for me, I really think like how you do something is just as important as what you do. I was like, if we got to the end and everyone was so miserable, I was like, then I think it wasn't a win. Like, I was like, sure, maybe you hit these targets,
sales were up 15%.
But I was like, ooh, I was like, at what cost?
Yeah.
I was like, I think in you don't sacrifice by also making the process like less excruciating. It changes things when all of a sudden like your work is in service of the kind of life that you want to live instead of the other way around.
I think it takes a lot to sort of step away and have that realization as well. It's like when you're in the middle of it and you're at the busiest, it's like it is, or even at the worst parts of it, it's always so hard to step away and have that moment of like, shit, I am really doing what I love. Like if I told myself 10 years ago, 15 years ago that I'd be doing this today or where I'm at today, then that just immediately flips like where I'm at. But then I go back to work.
I know. And that's why I, will tell people, I'm like, this is the uncomfortable part because this is hard. Like this is the hard work of saying, I'm not just an autopilot of I'm doing all the same things and, or you're showing up to a business and you're like, well, there's the leadership has decided already the structure that we work in. Like the leaders have to decide that. And that's where, like, that's the hard work that I feel like founders don't always give themselves enough credit for. Is that's extremely taxing to say, I don't have any context. I'm creating the context for this business. I'm like plowing this future of where we're going to go. And that just requires a lot extra support.
And so what is your day-to-day like as a human, as your personal, as your own person outside of the business? What does your day-to-day look like?
Personally, as really important to me is health. And so much of my actual day is structured around how do I get good sleep? How do I eat food that I want to eat in like proper times for my body? How do I work out when I want to work out? How do I take breaks so I'm not looking at a computer for however long, which feels like such a, like these are small things, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've designed a day for me, as you said, like
Yeah.
as a human, like
Yeah.
here's ways that I'll like flourish as a person if I follow some of these patterns.
And those things as well, like once you notice yourself getting into a pattern and you feel a bit more successful in your own way, like I think it really translates to your work as well. Like you feel more confident having ticked your own personal boxes, especially when it's got to do with health as well. But you take that to your work and you want to be more goal orientated to tick off all your work boxes as well. Do you find that?
So I think it becomes really holistic when you all of a sudden are saying like, okay, what do I, like now I'm like, okay, as a business owner, like what am I doing with my business? Like you have to be so intentional with saying, how am I going to spend my time? How is this achieving, for me, I have my 6-month visions and I have my like key results that my whole day is designed from. And that is the same thing personally. And those begin to overlap in a way that it feels nice. You're like, it's an integrated life instead of like, okay, now I'm home and now I'm at work, and that's a really great feeling.
Yeah. So what's one piece of tangible advice that you would give to other business owners about like the strategies that you take to and implement with other businesses? How can other small businesses and startups apply those strategies?
So the future history is one of the easiest ways to really take the vision piece and make it actionable daily. And it starts with crafting what you want the next 6 months to look like. And you can set a timer for 20 minutes and sit down and just free write. Okay, here's 6 months from today. This is a history of what's happened in our business. And in that, you're going to see a number of different key results. And those are going to be the guideposts that are going to guide your day to day.
What do they look like? What's an example of what those goals could be? So could it just be sales?
It could be anything. Like it could be, here's a revenue target. Here's a customer journey improvement target. Here's a hire that we didn't have someone in this role before, this marketing role or this operations role. And now there is that hire. Like it's whatever it takes to move the needle towards like what those final results are.
I love that. I think it's really good because it's not just, I think because you also get to take in the reality of what's happened in the last 6 months. You get to take in the challenges and you can't just look forward and go and pretend those challenges won't happen again. I think it's very different to be able to look forward and just assume and guess, basically. But when you have to look back, it's the reality of what happened and how you could have really changed that.
There's going to be pieces in there that are more key results driven. Like there's a tangible change that's happened, and there's a certain person or group of people that have brought that to be.
Yeah.
So that vision piece is huge. We start high level, we have the vision, take it to the results, and then more on a weekly, daily basis, that turns into taking all of the things off a founder's plate that shouldn't be on their plate. The big question we like to say is like, okay, who is doing what by when?
Yeah. I love that approach. Is there another strategy that listeners can take away and apply to their own business?
There's a system that we run, the couple of business partners that I have, called Win Challenge Plan. And weekly we meet and go through a win from the last week, a challenge from that you're currently facing, and the challenge plan. So how are you overcoming that? We are all pretty close, so we have a professional and personal win and challenge. But the extra layer to this is that every one of those wins and every one of those challenges relates back to a value.
How did you work on and find your own values?
So there's a sort of a little questionnaire, a little form that my business partner created, and it just funnels you through looking at the things that you, people in the world that you admire, traits that you want to bring into the world, where all of a sudden you come to the end, and instead of crafting like, here's the person I should be, like, here's the person I actually am. And the other layer of this is when you say, all right, even in your wins, even in your challenges, you're not defined only by your wins and challenges. You're defined by like, here's are these values of the person that you are. You are a person outside of the work that you do. Like this feels like one of the most tangible ways I've ever come across where that can actually be implemented.
Are you quick to try and, when you're talking negatively about yourself or what you might be going through at the time, do you try and put a stop to that immediately? Because, a lot of people say that, you kind of create the things that you, there's partially you start to believe the negative things that you say to yourself. And so you refer back to your values that you already know are values, and that helps you get out of those moments?
I think in the back of my mind, I always think like, okay, fear kills more dreams than failure. But I feel like failure is still this top of mind thought for founders or for just people. Like that's a human, it's a human condition. And giving a different pathway to say, if you're stuck, it doesn't mean failure. Like if you're stuck, there's another way to think about this. And there aren't a lot of helpful strategies, at least that I've come across, other than, okay, just work through it or just like muscle through or do something that denies the deeper reasons where actually makes the process like not so painful. And to go back, I'm like, I'm all for just how I'm like, this can make me as a person, I'm a better person after going through this. I'm a person with value. I show up as a person with values to work, whether I use those values or not, whether I acknowledge them, like they're there. And I think it really can change people's experience in the workplace if they tap in to those that exist.
Now, you mentioned why you think hard work can be lazy.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Controversial statement. And this is where I think defining terms is really important, that when someone thinks hard work, and especially in startups, I think it's 12 or 14-hour days and you have a bunch of spreadsheets and a million tabs open, and time has been associated with hard work for most people. Like that's what comes to mind. A different version of hard is a lot of what we've been talking about, of saying, what is the vision of the future that we are going to create? That's really hard to bring nothing into something, to say, this is what we're going to create. This is going to be the tangible movement of our business, where there was nothing and now there's going to be something because of what we're doing in our company. And there's a productivity philosophy I like to operate by that says, don't hide in complexity.
Right.
It's really,
I love that.
it's, and I mean, I've been guilty of it so many times where like, if I do stuff, then I'm being productive. And doing stuff doesn't always move you towards those goals that we talked about, or like what actually matters in the business. And hard work sometimes can be, or the hard work, the time associated work can sometimes be that hiding in complexity of like, I'll just do a lot of things instead of taking the time to figure out exactly where we're going. And it's not that even all of the steps have to be mapped out, but really knowing like all of those things, like what we're doing, who's doing it by when, like that often is the hardest work.
Yeah. So what's one of your biggest achievements so far?
Turning the dream of running a business from potential energy to kinetic, like that it happened. And that was a little more of a period than an actual, like, here was the one-time event.
Yeah.
It's been hard work to be intentional in that way, but intentionality is one of my values, and that's where it's been like so incredibly fulfilling.
You're literally living your highlight.
I know, it feels I can't even articulate exactly what it is, but I'm like, this is the path. Like when you know that's the thing you're supposed to be on.
It's not weird, but you're literally a founder, but you're still like helping the operations. You're doing what you love and helping founders. It's a very cool position to be in. What's one of your biggest challenges that you've come across?
I think the biggest challenge is creating the vision. Like really saying like, this is where we're going to go.
Like making a decision?
Making the decisions of like, this is how I'm going to run this business. Being in that position to define those results. And then for me, like also be the one to fulfill them.
Yeah.
It's kind of the action is the hard thing, but being the one to define what the action should be is pretty challenging.
Right. Cool. You mentioned that you're going to be traveling a lot coming up. And you gave us a reason why and everything, but I want to hear it all again because I know it kind of relates a lot back to your work in a totally other way.
So this, I think, is one of those examples where when you're really clear about what you want and your personal visions, then when opportunities that aren't in your control come up, you'll be more prepared to take them. So I've always had this dream of someday having an orchard, vineyard, like something agriculturally related.
Like have your own one or just an experience?
To own one. Like
Wow.
I am from the suburbs. I don't like in the way that I've not grown up in the country. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Like that's not been my background at all. But I was like, this is something I want to do. And so this fall there was an event I went to here in Brooklyn where this couple who owns a vineyard was there, and I was so compelled by the way they talked about how they ran their business. And
So you rolled up your sleeves.
I did. I was like, can I come learn from you?
Yeah.
And they said yes. And so I'm going to take 2 months this summer to go to Austria and spend time learning on their vineyard.
Wait, where did you meet this couple?
A wine event I got invited
Gotcha.
to. And I think these examples like this, because this can happen in your business too. Like you can plan all you want, and then all of a sudden you're like, I just met this dream couple who owns this dream vineyard that I should go learn from them. And you're like, you can't always plan for that, but when it happens, there's enough flexibility in this vision that you have. They're like, we can count this in.
Yeah. That's very cool. So I didn't give you these ahead of time, but we're going to go through some rapid fire questions.
Okay, great.
All right? You ready?
Ready?
Now, I said last time that when we did this, that it was going to be rapid fire, and then I started talking about every question for like 10 minutes. So here we go. What is one thing you regret spending money on?
Clothes, just like, I don't know, like material things.
Nice. What dish do you cook the best?
I went through a phase where I just cooked like different meatballs every single week.
Yeah.
And I have like 13 different meatball recipes that are
Did you perfect it?
perfected.
Awesome. What was it? What was the main ingredient?
Surprisingly, there was one had cinnamon and cardamom.
Yeah? It was badass.
Really sneaky ingredients, but
That's
really good.
awesome. What is your guilty pleasure?
Not reading self-development books.
That's your guilty pleasure?
Not doing that.
So you're saying you don't read them and that makes you happy?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I buy more and more, but I never read them, and that makes me depressed.
Yeah. Not being on the like making things better
Yeah.
all the time.
Awesome. I love that. What never fails to make you laugh?
My business partner, like really ridiculous.
Yep.
And I think WeWork wants us like out because we just like we'll be laughing so I'm like we're not the best coworkers.
That's amazing. What is a food combination people eat that you just can't get behind?
I think anything with mayonnaise
You hate the mayonnaise.
doesn't matter. Yeah,
I'm the same.
does not matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is one thing work related you'll never do again?
Probably import tequila across the border. That was a fun nightmare to try to figure out.
way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When you were younger, did you ever envision owning your own business?
Yeah. From the very beginning. Even when I was little, like 7 years old, I wanted to be a COO.
Yeah. I was pouring milk out of, as a kid, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was pouring milk into random glasses out the front of my house and selling it for 5 cents a glass.
That's
The math never added up though.
no. But I mean, I did every like art sales, lemonade sales,
did
dog
that?
walking business. I mean, everything.
Yeah. If you couldn't work in this industry, what profession would you pursue?
I have considered culinary school. I think that would just be so fun.
Yeah.
Or psychology.
Culinary's hard though.
It's hard, yeah. So maybe it is a psychological thing too.
Maybe.
They are combined.
Yeah. How do you handle stress in the workplace?
I have a very long fuse, which that's helpful. I think keeping the idea that no one's trying to fight each other.
Yeah.
like no one's trying to
Malicious
be
about-
your enemy. Like nobody is trying to make your life harder. So I think thinking of people as allies and not enemies, whether it's like your coworker or your vendor or your investor, like anyone,
Definitely.
that mindset.
And clients as well. Like
Yeah.
when you're in the trenches with clients, it's hard to remember that they're trying to do their best as well, and and not everyone's trying to be malicious, even when it feels like it. All right, last question. What do you wish you learnt sooner?
I'd wish I had learned to start things I didn't know how to do sooner, like not let the perfectionist tendencies take over. Like, even if I knew it wasn't going to be good, to do something anyways. And I think the second bit is like accounting, like actually learning like financial models and really specific, like this makes my life easier, which I ended up sort of self-teaching and having to do. But that would have been a nice thing to learn a little sooner.
I mean, that's where the school system fails us, but yeah, that's a whole different thing. Hannah, that is everything I wanted to go through.
Okay.
But I did want you to have one question ready to go to us and leave the audience with.
Okay.
What was that question?
So my question, and this is a question I've asked to friends and I've asked to myself, and it's changed the course of what some people have done in their lives. Is what is one thing that you would do if you weren't afraid to fail? Just I love that question would be. Much. Yeah. And what's your answer?
Oh, damn it! You want me to ask me?
Yeah.
What's one thing I'll do if I couldn't fail? Is it too cheesy to say the work that I'm doing right now?
You need a next level. You need like
This is where I need to approach my goals with you.
What I love is that people can have dreams and it doesn't just sound like a fluffy thing you see on Pinterest. Like there's truly systems for people to, if they're like, do I want to be my own boss? Do I want to have my own company? Like there's real fears associated with that. Like they might have dreams like, well, I hope it works out. And hope is not a very helpful strategy. Yeah. Like there really is, like you can have dreams about something and there's also a strategy that's practical and helpful and doesn't have to just be, I'm showing up and wanting it all work out. And that's what I love getting to do this, because it helps people personally and businesses say, I'm like literally making my dreams come true without that sounding like a Disney movie.
It's not at all. That's awesome. So I got to take this question home with me. So what would you do if you know you couldn't fail? All right, I'm going to leave the comment under here.
All right.
Under the video.
All right.
I'm going to be the first response, I hope.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You crushed it. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. I mean, it's so fun. Like, I love this stuff. Like, this is, I've told friends before, if I'm on a date that I'm like, this isn't really going that well, I'm like, what are your hopes and dreams and why aren't you pursuing them? And like, it really, I was like, I think there's when some people have gone into existential crisis being like, why am I not
after the date with you?
Like, well, yeah, I've had like I was like, I don't think we're ever gonna probably be in each other's lives again, but at least like maybe you'll be like a closer step to like what you want to do in your life.
They get home like, the chick, she was like a counselor. She was
yeah. I was like, okay, well, make use of this time.
That's awesome though, because you gotta, I mean, you probably honestly ask for want an answer, like to see whether they can answer it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, and I just fucked it up. Damn it.